The train to Yorkshire rattled like old bones in the dark, its iron wheels clanging against the tracks with a weariness that matched my own. I sat alone in the compartment, collar turned up against the chill that had been creeping in since dusk.
Outside.
The world was swallowed by fog, thick, pale, and unmoving, like a shroud laid over the countryside. Every so often a lonely station lamp would flare into view, then vanish again, leaving only the reflection of my own face staring back at me in the glass. On my knees rested a leather case, scuffed from years of travel. Inside lay the will and testament of the late Baron Aldous Harrowgate, a man I had never met, but whose affairs I was now bound to put in order. His death, so the notice had said, was sudden. The phrasing was strange, taken ill under peculiar circumstances. The words had itched at me ever since. When I mentioned my destination to the innkeeper in London, his brows knitted into a single, disapproving line. "You'll want to see to your business before nightfall," he said. "The moors aren't forgiving after dark." When I asked him why, he gave a tight shake of the head and muttered something about old debts in the East Wing, as if even the syllables carried weight best left untouched. The train lurched and squealed into Harrowgate Station, though station was a generous word. It was nothing more than a crooked platform swallowed by mist, with a single lantern swaying in the wind. Under its glow stood a carriage driver in a long, damp coat, cap pulled low so that his eyes were shadowed. "Mr. Wren?" he asked, his voice a hoarse scrape against the silence. "Yes," I said, stepping down from the carriage. The wet planks gave under my boots with a hollow creak. He took my bag without a word and stowed it in the carriage. His gloved hands trembled faintly as he did so. The horses tossed their heads, snorting into the cold. We set off without ceremony, the wheels crunching over gravel before slipping onto the narrow dirt road. On either side, black fields stretched into the fog, broken only by the jagged silhouettes of bare trees. The air was heavy with the smell of peat. And something else, faint but sharp, like iron left too long in the rain. "How far to the manor?" I asked after some minutes. "Not far," the driver said. "You'll see the gates soon enough." He hesitated, then added almost to himself, "Best you don't wander after dark." "And why's that?" I asked. His jaw worked, but no answer came. At last he muttered, "Because the walls don't keep everything out." We spoke no more until the carriage drew to a stop before tall iron gates, blackened with rust. The fog swirled thick beyond and through it. I could just make out the looming silhouette of the manor, a jagged crown of chimneys and turrets as though the building itself were clawing at the sky. One upstairs window glimmered with a pale light, though I had been told only a handful of staff remained. The gates groaned open, and as we passed beneath them I felt it. The air seemed to grow heavier, pressing against my chest. Prickles slid up my spine. When we reached the entrance, the doors stood waiting, tall and dark, carved with patterns too warped by shadow to read. They opened before I could lift my hand to knock. A tall man stood framed in the dim light of the hall, thin as a post, skin like old parchment, eyes unreadable. "Mr. Wren," he said, voice low and flat, "we've been expecting you." The door shut behind me with a final echoing thud.